everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turn on the Jets Live. I'm your host, Steven Zantz, joined by my co-host, Zantz Russo. It's back, baby. Football's on Monday. Well, Jets football's on Monday, and we got football tonight. How you doing, Ben?
Feeling good, man. I can't believe it. It's like it snuck up out of nowhere. I think the older you get, that's just what happens, right? Time just flies, and next thing you know, you blink your eyes and the season's here. But I'm ready. Chiefs Ravens tonight. We got some football tomorrow on Friday. Full slate of games Sunday, and then the Jets kick off Monday night in San Francisco. I had my little unexpected viral tweet last night, just circa 1998. I was getting all of my feels, and I was thinking about it. It was funny because the last time the Jets opened in San Fran was that year, obviously, and they unveiled the new uniforms. And I remember the Jets 98 highlight video, and Steve Mariucci was on the sideline for the 49ers. He's like, man, look at those unis, like Joe Namath, George Sauer, Don Maynard, like all this stuff. Like he was enamored with them. So it was just pretty cool because 98 was obviously a great year for the Jets and really my probably favorite year. And I thought probably the best team. So kind of aligning the stars there, opening up in San Francisco, new unis being unveiled, 12-4 season, division championship, and obviously the heartbreaker in Denver. So hopefully we don't have that. But no, it was pretty cool, man. So I'm feeling good. I'm ready for football to kick off. How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm ready, man. I'm going to be boots on the ground, as people know who follow me and listen to this show. So it's going to be awesome. So I can't wait. We're almost here. So let's get there. So we gotta talk about this game. It's a huge high profile matchup, Monday Night Football. I wish it was at home, but it is what it is. But I think that everyone's excited and anxious to see Aaron Rodgers maybe play 5 snaps. Just kidding, obviously. But for real, it's awesome. I mean, the biggest thing I could say is, and it's cool when you see the injury report that came out today. It's like they're basically healthy. I mean, we don't have Reddick, which we could talk about, but I'm kind of just tired of it at this point because at this point he's not on the team. He'll be on the team when he's here. He's not. So like I just pretend like he's not on the team until something changes. But yeah, it's just cool that seeing everybody practice today. Wes Schweitzer was the only person who missed practice. Everybody else was either limited or full. I know Ty Smith got a veteran rest day, which is good. But yeah, man, it's going to be a cool matchup. I mean, it's two coaches that know each other really well. Saleh, obviously, DC under Kyle when they went to the Super Bowl the first time against Kansas City. He was definitely one of the hot commodity hires when we hired him in 2021. So it should be fun. We got some pieces. The defense is awesome. I'm a little concerned on the interior, just the depth, but we do have some young pups, so I think could be, strong contributors. But, you got to see it with your eyes before you believe it. How you feeling, man?
Honestly, like you try to think back, and it's got to be top 5, top 3, probably, if not the best that I've felt going into a season, which is crazy considering what 2023 was. But
yep.
From a roster standpoint, and again, I've said that I think we endured 2023 to get ourselves here and to this point. And as bad as it was, we felt really good going into the season opener last year with our roster the way it was. But I think what that season kind of pointed out was the holes in it. And the biggest question mark was the offensive line, right? And we obviously saw that. You go through how many quarterbacks, like Aaron Rodgers gets hurt 4 snaps in, all that stuff. So, but to have them play musical chairs at offensive line yet again just showed how weak that unit really was. So for Joe Douglas to address that in the offseason, to have 2 bookend tackles of Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, to have AVT coming back, to have Joe Tippmann, to have John Simpson, who, Aaron Rodgers has glowing things to say about him today. Like that's really the piece of this team that I feel like really good about, that really kind of turned the corner, that Joe Douglas did a great job of rebuilding. When you think about just the roster from, top to bottom, I mean, you feel really good about it. And I think this has to be one of the Jets' best rosters ever assembled. I mean, up there with 98, with 2010, you can even throw 04, 02 into the mix. I mean, those were kind of like 02 was a bit more of a surprise year, but from top to bottom, when you think like the 2010 team, that's the one that's closest in memory. But the biggest question mark had to be Mark Sanchez. And he had a decent year that year, but he's nowhere to the level of Aaron Rodgers and what Aaron Rodgers could be, right? So this is as good as I felt going into a year. And I think this is going to be their toughest test right off the rip. And we'll see how it goes. But I think it's going to be a hard fought game. And I think this season we're going to see really good things for the Jets. And I'm really encouraged. And if, cross our fingers, if health holds up, I think we'll be in good shape, and I think we'll be right in the thick of it come December, January, and that's all we can ask for, man. We've been through hell. Let's come out on the other side and finally get to January and competitive and playoff football. That's all we can ask for.
From your lips to God's ears, my friend. That's all we need at this point. But yeah, I feel as good about this roster as I felt about, the 2010 team. Like 2015 was a pleasant surprise. We didn't think they would be as good as they were. 2016, there was higher expectations because of what happened in 2015. And then really after that, 2019 was like a weird year in the sense of, was like you're like Sam year 2 bump. Obviously the coach hire was the problem, so we weren't really super excited about that. But the roster we felt was quote unquote better. Yeah. And it was to a degree because they did win 7 games, even though it was a rough start. But again, it's just this roster, with the outside of really safety, I would say interior defensive line depth, and obviously wide receiver depth. You can't really poke too many holes in it.
And that's the craziest thing. So like, I don't mean to interject, but if I were to ask you like positionally, which positional group do you really have the least amount of confidence in?
Just safety, just because Chuck Clark's coming off an injury. Tony Adams is like maybe average. And then obviously Ashton, I think, is a situational player who's very good when called upon, but we haven't seen consistent good play from him in an every down role. I think it's more when he's called upon, especially on special teams. But yeah, that's what I would say. But the one thing that works with this is that this defense is not predicated off safety play. It's more about the front seven. It's more about, the guys, the big boys up front. So that's the way the scheme operates. And I know San Francisco runs a similar scheme, and they don't really ever have strong safety play. I know Hufanga is really good, but like at the same time, they've never really had like this like superstar safety. I guess Jimmy Ward was pretty good, but again, not a superstar, just good safeties. So that's it. But like, the corners I think can mitigate some of that, especially because they're from top to bottom, they're awesome. From 1 to 3.
That's the thing, right? Because when you look, okay, you say safety, but when you broaden that out, right, it's the secondary. And really, the safeties are coupled with probably the best cornerback trio in the game, right? So that, again, to your point, that can mitigate it. We did the write-up for the Badlands season preview, right? I took linebackers, and I think last year you and I were kind of saying like linebacker could be maybe the biggest question mark on the team because Quincy Williams, still was a bit of a question mark.
Which is crazy.
He answered every single one of those questions. So from that group, you have 2 all-pro caliber players. CJ Mosley, the only question really from him is his age, right? He's 32. He's bound to take a physical step back, but like he's still quarterback of that defense, as important a player as there is. D-line, even with or without Reddick, is formidable. Yeah. You look at the O-line, we talked about that. Wide receiver group, you got Garrett Wilson's ready to take the next step and become a top 5 receiver in this league. Mike Williams, cross our fingers there.
Full participant today.
Legitimate number 2. At least, right? Could be a number 1 on some teams. If Alan Lazard can be decent with Aaron Rodgers, which I think we can expect, Malachi Corley takes some steps, Xavier Gibson takes some steps, and then you have Aaron Rodgers and arguably a top 2-3 running back in the league. Yeah, like it's top to bottom. And we're taking coaching staff out of this, which
that's the thing. Yeah.
But roster-wise, this team is built to win. This team is built to win right now. And I think from top to bottom, every positional group, like you just said it, you can't poke too many holes. And it's a weird thing to feel for Jets fans.
Yes. They match up well with the Niners. They really do. I think that they can attack their offensive line. I know Trent is obviously one of the best tackles to play in the last 20 years. And, he's better than Tyron Smith, but I wouldn't say it's like this crazy difference in terms of their careers. They're both Hall of Famers. But I think some of their interior play is not that strong. And I think the Jets are going to give them some fits, but I think the big thing, and I saw this earlier today with the Niners practice report, is McCaffrey's probably still lingering with that injury. I mean, I know he's going to play. I'm sure he'll be productive, but now with this new detailed injury report, which honestly, I had no idea was like a thing until today when I saw that. It's like, it says like it's a calf injury, but it has to say Achilles. Like that's like scary. Like, and like, I'm not even trying to be like a Jets homer, like, oh my God, but like, that's just like, that's something to think about. He may not be the McCaffrey we saw in the playoffs last year and like late in the season when he had that crazy run. I think he had like 11 straight games of the touchdown. So he'll be his usual self. But again, also the mileage for running back. He's turning 29 this season. He's taken a lot of hits. He's been hurt before. So he's just, there's a chance this might happen. Like he just may not be like the McCaffrey that we know. And sometimes it takes a couple weeks for these guys to get their feet wet. So it's going to be fun. I'm really excited to see Sauce, and Ayuk. I'm excited to see, MC2 following Debo a little bit. I'm sure he's going to be like inside out, but it's really going to be interesting. But I just want to see Garrett, man. I want to see Garrett just cook with a real quarterback like that. Like we've seen what Brees can do, and I know the offensive line is good, but his success wasn't predicated on having really high quality quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going to help him just because it's like a threat of the play action and whatnot. But it's crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so excited. I just want to see these guys play.
I know, play with legitimate quarterbacks. Like we haven't had that in quite some time. And to see what Garrett can do, to see what Brees can do, and how much this offense opens up, and to legitimize the weapons outside of those two with competent quarterback play is also a big factor here. Like, obviously, guys like Allen Lazard don't look as good with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Mm-hmm. Guys like Tyler Conklin don't look as good with Zach Wilson at quarterback. But once you throw Aaron Rodgers back there, those guys become legitimate targets. They become legitimate threats, and that just opens up everything else for the rest of the offense and for superstars like Brees and like Garrett. So I'm really excited to see where this offense can go and how it takes off. As long as Nate Hackett doesn't hold him back, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, hopefully the gold zone is a little bit more golden than it was in 2023. Okay. So what would you say is the biggest X factor you could do for each team? So first, let's do the Niners. What do you think is their biggest X factor when you're thinking about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint one X factor because their offense is loaded, right? You think about Ayuk, you think about Debo, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, but honestly, I'm going to go with Brock Purdy, and I think Brock Purdy's got to be the X factor with how he can handle the pressure that the Jets are obviously going to get. Like, I really do think even without Hassan Reddick, the Jets have a formidable pass rush, and they'll be able to get home. So the way that Brock Purdy can handle that, we'll see on the opposite side. Like, if Sauce does travel, if he travels with Ayuk, maybe he travels with Kittle, who knows if they mix it up, maybe he goes with Debo, we'll see. But how Brock Purdy can kind of handle that pressure that the Jets front four will generate and be able to get the ball out and spread it around. I think, Purdy, he's obviously in 2 seasons, he's, developed himself into a nice quarterback. I mean, he's been there. He's gotten them to the NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl. There's no more like game manager talk. Like, he's just a good quarterback. But, facing a defense like the Jets opening week, Monday Night Football, it's going to be a big deal. So how he faces that pressure and makes decisions, and if he can spread that ball around, I think from the Niners standpoint, he's got to be the X factor.
Yeah, totally. What about on the Jets side of the ball? Who do you think? Who do you think's the X factor there?
I think it's Brees. I think that when you go into this season, but obviously, like, just kind of with this first game with Aaron Rodgers coming back, like all of it. But I think from a very top line view, Jets are going to be a run-heavy team, and I think everything is going to run through Brees. We'll lead into hot takes here, but I just think he's the X factor, and I think he's going to get a lot of touches. I think he's going to get a lot of carries. I think he's going to get a lot of screen passes, a lot of dump-off, stuff like that. He's going to be an outlet for Aaron. This line playing together for kind of the first time is going to be a big deal, but I do think that Brees is the obvious X factor, and I think they're going to run heavy with him and try to manage this game and kind of keep it into that. I don't think you're going to see the Jets open it up too much and, go crazy, go 99 Ram style. I think it's going to be more controlled, more ball control, more Brees Hall offense. I really think that he's the X factor in this. I'd say easy 25 touches if I was a betting man.
Wow. I think Braylon Allen's going to get more work than people are giving him credit for just because of how much this staff likes him. But I'm going to say in terms of X factors, I think Will McDonald's the one for the Jets. I just think
I like it.
We are hearing that he's had a good camp. They feel really good about his potential, but at the same time, based on the actions of the preseason, he was playing in most of the games, even when the starters weren't playing. He did have some nice moments in the preseason, but again, it's like you're hoping, this is a first round pick. It's an edge player, without Reddick right now, he needs to do something. So I would say he's the biggest X factor. If they could really get high-end production from him week 1, oh my God, we'll be giddy, be like, who is Hassan Reddick? We don't need this guy, but just kidding. We actually do need him for the stretch run. I'm just making jokes, people. But in terms of the 49ers, you know who it is? It's hard to say. It's Trent Williams. I know the guy, can probably just play tackle in his sleep, similar to Ty Smith, but he did not practice the entire summer. He started practicing this week. I'm sure he's going to be fine, but, 36 years old, something could maybe a little off. He maybe needs to get some game shape in. I'm just saying, I'm sure he's going to be fine. I'm sure that no one's going to get by him. And if they are to get sacks, it's not going to come from his side of the line. But that's my take there. I think it's, it's in the trenches. That's usually where the X factor is, because that's how you control the game. It's like, if you can win in the trenches, you're probably going to win the game. To give a nice little shout out to our boy Dan Essien, who's always about the trenches.
Yeah, you're right, though. I mean, I go back to the 2010 year with Revis and that holdout, and I think everybody remembers, Revis popped his hamstring week 2 that year of the holdout, and I think you see that a lot from guys that don't practice all summer. They're not. Football's a different sport, man, and if you're not in game shape, you're not in game shape. When the training camp is there for a reason, and Trent Williams is the best left tackle, one of the best left tackles in football, and he's a seasoned veteran. Obviously, you don't get there by accident.
It's the age, though. It
is. You couple that 36 going against a strong defensive front with the Jets. We'll see how he holds up, but I don't disagree with you, man. That stuff can happen, and it makes me worried for if and when Hassan Reddick shows up too.
Well, he's just icing on the cake at this point. That's all I can say about him. But we'll save our game picks for the end of the show like we always do. But let's just do some 2024 stuff. So give me your hottest take about this 2024 Jets season.
Okay. We don't want to do record predictions, but I'll go one team and one individual. You'll kind of get an indication of what my record prediction will be. But my hot take for the team, for the Jets, is we're going to win the division. I really believe
that's not a hot take.
I'm just saying they're going to win. Hey, for a team that hasn't won since 2002, like, that's a hot take. So I think they're going to win the division from I'll expand on that. Like, I think from a divisional standpoint, the Bills have gotten worse. The Dolphins have gotten worse. The Dolphins, they've lost some pieces on defense. They've lost pieces on the offensive line. It's a big question mark if Tua can hold up. The Bills lost a lot of pieces on offense. They're going to rely on Josh Allen to be Superman, and he's proven that he can done it, but he's, turning into Cam Newton a little bit here, where they're relying on him for too much, and you don't know how that can hold up. And then I just think the Patriots are going to be bottom feeders. So I just think the path for the Jets to win the division has never been more clear, and I really think that it's going to be this year. My hot take from a player standpoint, I'll double down on him. I don't even know if this is a hot take, but I think Breece Hall is going to lead the league in total yards. Like,
wow,
rushing and receiving. I really do. I think this is going to be a big year for Breece Hall, and I think people outside of the Jets realm don't understand how impressive his last 5, 6, 7 games were of last season with Trevor Siemian and Zach Wilson and whoever else that was at quarterback. I can't remember how the games break down, but what he did against Cleveland, Washington, New England, like, I don't think people understand how impressive that was, and I don't know if people really are giving him the credit that he deserves.
Brown's defense is good, and he tore him up.
And I don't think they're understanding like what he's going to do with a Hall of Fame quarterback and really a good offensive line. I think Breece is ready for a huge year.
Okay, so my hot take, it's player driven. I'll try to think of a team one as I'm going through this, but Tyler Conklin will be the second best receiver on this team this year, more than Mike Williams. I'm not counting Breece Hall because he's a running back, but I do think he's very productive from the pass game. But I think that Tyler Conklin will be second in yards and second in receiving touchdowns.
Wow, I like it.
I think he's been quietly productive given, what the quarterback situation has been. I think he had like 800 yards his first year. I think he had like 7 something last year. He had no touchdowns last year. He had a couple in his first year of the Jets. People forget that Aaron Rodgers loves tight ends in the red zone. He really does. Like, he's just, that's his thing. Like, whether it's, Robert Tonyan, whether it's Jermichael Finley, whether it's Mercedes Lewis, even fullbacks like John Kuhn and all that. Like, he loves that stuff. Oh, and then Richard Rodgers, I know, who was the guy who dropped the onside kick, who people hate in Green Bay. But my point is that he loves tight ends. So I think that, and we've always been high on Tyler Conklin, but like, I think finally it's going to pay off just because he's actually have real quarterback play, because he hasn't had that the past 2 years. Yeah.
I like it.
From a team perspective, I think the Jets and as a team are going to run the ball a lot more than people think, given who their quarterback is. So I think like when you're like thinking about what their identity is going to be, they're going to be a running team. It's not going to be like Rex Ryan ground and pound where they may pass the ball 15 times a game. But at the same time, I think that they're going to be tremendous on the ground. And Rodgers is not going to be throwing as much as people expect. I still think he'll clear 4,000 yards, but I don't think he's going to throw 40 touchdowns. I think he's going to break the Fitz mark. But I think, like you said, Brees is just going to be outstanding. And I think I actually have a future on him to win Offensive Player of the Year. So I guess it's not a hot take because, he's definitely one of the betting favorites. But I definitely think that he's just going to be insane. But there's going to be a run-heavy team that people aren't expecting. We do have a caller, and I want to get him in here. So we have Kevin. Kevin, how you doing, man?
What's going on, boys?
Hey, what's up, Kev?
I'm waiting for some pizza to get done, and they're not done cooking it yet. So I was listening, so I'm like, all right, I'll call in and chop it up with you guys.
I love it.
Okay, give us your hottest take for this Jets season.
Oh, man. I think my hottest take would probably be I think Takk McKinley is going to be a player for this team. I think without Reddick, that's the name where, nothing crazy, but I think you could see, like, if he got you 7.5 sacks and 45 pressures and more or less replace the pass rush production you got from John Franklin Myers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the guy to watch. I don't think it was just. I know it was preseason, but he was giving those future FedEx employees the work pretty damn good, man. So I'm excited for Takk. He's my guy.
I love it. I love Takk. I'm excited for him too, especially with the Sean Merriman celebration. I can't wait for him to do that on Sundays. Real quick, Kevin, before we let you go, what's your record prediction this year?
I got the Jets at 11-6, and I think that'll be good enough to win the AFC East by 1 game, with probably Buffalo nipping at their heels with 10 wins.
I love it.
I love it. Enjoy your pizza, man. We appreciate you calling in.
Take care, guys.
Hey, see you later, Kev. I think he brings up a good point with Takk McKinley too, because really, like, that JFM hole is big. JFM was he was a Swiss Army knife on that defensive line, and you'll need someone to fill that role, right? So not only are they missing Hassan Reddick and Bryce Huff obviously left, but JFM got traded to Denver. So those are 2 obviously big holes to fill, and really you're relying on Takk and some undrafted rookies to fill that gap and see what they can do. So Takk, it's almost, they're not counting on him. I mean, he'd be a nice surprise, but you need some production out of that at Takk. So I think that's a bold statement, and I like it, but it just kind of it reiterates the hole that JFM left, because he was important to that D line.
Yeah, I love it. I didn't realize that Kevin was Buffalo Jet fan. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
man.
no way.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize it. I wish he would have said that when he was on here.
I know. Seriously.
Always appreciate that stuff, Buff Jet. Anyway, it's I'm so excited for this game. We could do a couple more predictions. They don't have to necessarily be hot takes, but what would you say is like something that you feel confident is going to happen on this Jets team? It could be a stat prediction. It could be a team that they beat that we don't expect. It could be just something that happens. What do you think?
Oh boy, there's a lot of directions that you could go here. All right, I'll give you 2, and I hope I don't steal yours. I think I think it's a foregone conclusion they're going to have a top 10 defense, but I also think they're going to have a top 10 offense.
Yeah,
that's right. The other thing is I think we finally have a winning record in the division. They go 4-2. I think they sweep New England. I think you split with Miami. I think you split with Buffalo, and that's going to carve out their path to winning the division.
Okay.
Not hot takes, but just from where we've been.
They didn't have to be hot. I didn't ask for that. I didn't.
Right? Okay. So I really do. I think top 10 offense, I think you're going to see what this offense can really do. I don't, that's very foreign territory for Jets fans, but top 10 defense, again, foregone conclusion. But yeah, I think the offense is going to take serious strides this year.
Okay. I like it. So a couple predictions for me. I'll say I think that they actually start out 4-0 to start the season. I'm already giving away what my game pick, but I gotta wait for a little bit. But I think that they have a really good first month. I mean, I think obviously this is a tough challenge. I think that they match up well, but after that, I think it's just definitely going to be a lot easier the rest of the month. I mean, I think Tennessee is better than people think, but again, it's a young quarterback. You don't know what you're going to see.
Yep.
New England, people were saying they could be the worst team in the league. Denver, I think, is probably not going to be the worst team in the league, but I don't think they'll be very good. I think Bo Nix is going to go through some rookie growing pains, but I know he had a good preseason. So anything's possible. But like the funny thing about the Jets is if they were to win on Monday, you could easily see them losing one of these games that they're not supposed to lose, because that's what they do. But that's one. My second prediction is I think Garrett Wilson clears 1,500 yards receiving. I really do. I do. I mean, he had 1,100 with Zach Wilson and Mike White as his quarterback. I easily could see him clearing 400 more yards with Aaron Rodgers. I think he'll get 10 touchdowns, and I think he'll have at least 100 catches. I really think that that's what he's capable of when he has a real quarterback.
I love that. You think so? He breaks Brandon Marshall's record for yards. What about touchdowns?
Touchdowns, no. Yards, yes.
Okay, touchdowns. Brandon Marshall, I think, had 14 that year. Am I wrong? 14 to 15.
I don't think he'll get that. I think
I
told you I don't think Rodgers. I think Rodgers gonna have a good year. I just don't think he's gonna throw for 40 touchdowns. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love for him to have a Peyton Manning 50 touchdown season or Mahomes 50 touchdown season. But
I think one thing we can all agree on is that Aaron Rodgers needs to get Ryan Fitzpatrick out of that record book for the Jets.
Please,
need to get that done. But in terms of your hot start take, I like it, and I think obviously it's
probably not going to happen. But I'm saying,
but it could be real if they get out of week one with a win, which I think obviously is tough. But you think about it, you got at Tennessee. You're right, like Will Levis, they don't scare you. It's on the road, yeah, but Tennessee doesn't scare you. Home for the Patriots, that is a very easily winnable game. Home for the Broncos, they should win that. Add the Vikings, but you're in London. That's the one kind of thing that scares you, but that's Sam Darnold. And then you got the Bills, and you got, getting the Bills at home early. I like. You travel to Pittsburgh. Like this team, they should really, if they start 4-0, obviously that's fantastic, but you should start 5-1, 6-1, get yourself to 6-2. 7-2 at the 8-9 game break, and that just makes the tail end so much easier. And they really, I think, it tees up for that kind of 2004-ish, 2010-ish hot start, and it just makes that back end of the season that much better for you. Like prove you're a good team early on, and coast the rest of the way. That's what they need.
That's the hope. But we do have another caller. We have NY Jets FL Ted. I'm assuming it's Ted. Ted, how you doing, man?
Ted, what's up?
What's going on, fellas? I don't have a lot of hot takes, but the thing I'm looking forward to the most is a Garrett Wilson that gets the ball in stride for once and not has to twist backwards and slow down on receptions. I can only imagine how many yards he lost last year with that ridiculous Zach Wilson ball placement.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most, also I did mention in the chat, the undrafted free agents. I think you're going to see a lot of these young guys really flash, and the fact that Reddick is not here, I think shows me that the staff has the confidence in the young players. Also, the fact that we can possibly have an offense, so we can.
I know, right? What is this world?
Yeah. Oh, every game we used to go in last year, we'd be like, okay, we need to score 20. We can't let up 14. We, during the game, you're like, okay, we need 3 field goals and we have to stop them here. No more
terrible.
of that.
That's
gone. Okay. And I think you're going to know, say, for example, San Francisco, right? You're going to know before the game for once, hey, maybe 21 points will do it. Maybe. Miami, maybe we need to score 30. Maybe that's a little more wide open game. Even Buffalo. I don't know if you're going to hold Miami to, lower than the mid-20s. You may have to air it out a little. But, the San Francisco game, I'm hearing that the 49ers have a lot of young safeties. So everyone's saying, hey, Breece Hall's going to go off. But maybe we're going to go in there and, test those young players and see what they can handle. I don't think you can handle Garrett Wilson. I mean, that guy's a special player.
Many people can. Not many people can.
No, and not only that, he had 1,000 yards with the worst quarterback in the league. And
2 years in a row.
Twice.
He was the number one receiver, and everyone knew it. I mean, I can go on and on.
We feel you.
Yeah.
Listen to what you have, but hey, let me say one more hot take. I say the Texans don't make the playoffs.
I like that. I really like that hot take. I think everybody's all over Houston. I don't see it. A lot of the times these are flash in the pans, and but I'm with you. I'm with you, Ted. I like that hot take. I don't think they're going to be as good as people are chalking them up to be.
The schedule for the Texans is ridiculous, especially at the end of the year. They play the Lions, they play the Cowboys, they play the Ravens. They play the division, which you never know what's in that division. They play the Jets. Yep. So, let's see what happens.
We beat them last year with Zach Wilson. So
Zach Wilson played out of his mind that game.
He did.
Insane.
Last good moment as a Jet, I would say.
Yeah.
But Ted, we really appreciate the call. Thank you for coming in. We always appreciate you tuning in.
Appreciate it, fellas. Enjoy the
Hey,
show.
thanks very
Take
much.
care. Enjoy the game this week. Oh man, it's
Good
it's
points.
fun, man.
It
I
is.
love it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Steve.
No, you tell me.
I was going to say, like, he brings up a good point with, like we all go back to that race to 20 comment by your head coach before that Vegas game on Sunday night, like how bad that was. But just think about what this means for this defense, like actually being able to play with the lead, like not having to feel like you need to be perfect to win, being able to play more aggressive, like go after some balls, go after some pick sixes, like take more chances, like all of that rolls into it. And if if you, as a defense, if you know that you can't, give up more than a field goal every drive, like how much that has to weigh on you, but then flipping the script and knowing that, all right, my offense is going to get 20, 21, 24 points, whatever it is, like playing with that flexibility, that freedom, it's
real football.
It's real football. And I think Ted brought up a really good point with like how that could really affect this defense is being able to actually play with the lead, be able to pin their ears back, be more aggressive, take some more chances. I think you'll see a lot more big, like splash plays from the D because of that this year.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's do what we're going to do game picks, and then we'll do regular season record predictions. I mean, I just think we gotta do this, man. It's time. All right. You kick it off. You kick it off with your we'll do record predictions first, and then you can do game picks. So what's your record prediction for 2024?
All right. Record prediction 2024. I say 12-5, AFC East winners. When I look at the schedule too, man, it's hard for me to not go 13-4. But just being a Jets fan, being the seasoned guy that I am, I'm saying 12-5. And AFC East champs. I think after this game, this is the toughest game they have on their schedule. I think it softens up. I think they're going to start fast. I think they're going to get themselves to 6-1, 7-2. And then I think they'll, they maybe falter, a game or two down the stretch, but they're not going to be 16-1. They'll drop a few, but ultimately I think the team stays relatively healthy. Rodgers may miss a game or two. Tyron Smith may miss a game or two, but I think they're good enough to be able to withstand those and either split or whatever, but they'll be able to keep their heads above water. But ultimately they go 12-5, AFC's champs. My game prediction.
Wait. Let me do my season.
Oh, you're going. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't mean that.
So I got to stick true to the guide, but I'm not going to say everything I wrote in the guide just because I want people to subscribe to Badlands and become Patreon members. But 12-5 as well. I feel like it's kind of boring and chalky that I'm doing this since you did. But for a while, I was 11-6, and really, what changed me is just
I got to you. My positivity.
No. I'm talking about like all summer. I was 11-6. But what really got me is just they had a good training camp. Like other than this Reddick stuff, which honestly, it's like he's just not even on the team. It's not that big of a deal at this point. I mean, it is a big deal, but I'm saying it's like it hasn't impacted what's going on in the day-to-day is what I'm trying to say, like on the field and what they've been doing from a practice standpoint. They had a good offseason. They had clean practices. I mean, it sounds like it was the toughest camp a lot of these guys have gone through in years. They came out of it relatively healthy. I mean, Wes Schweizer's the only guy who didn't practice today, and he's a backup interior offensive lineman. And there's I know Kenny Uboa and Lecky Fotu are on IR, but like they're not guys you were expecting a lot out of. I mean, Lecky Fotu is just depth at this point on the interior, but that was really what swayed me. I'm like, they're just healthier than I ever expected them to be. And like Mike Williams seems like he's going to be further along than we expect. I mean, I'm not expecting him to be like Mike Williams of 2 years ago, but I think he's going to be like productive, and you can actually throw some jump balls to him and he's going to be able to catch them, unlike some of the guys we've had in the past. But I just feel 12-5, and I agree with you. AFC East champions. I'm not going to say how I think the season ends because I think that would be, too giddy of me because, again, it's kind of like wishful thinking. But if you want to know that, you got to subscribe to Badlands on Patreon. Best money you'll spend on Jets content. I promise you that. It's podcasts every day. You have written stuff. You have, video from time to time with War Room. You have the Discord if you pay for War Room, which is like literally my favorite thing right now. But yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but 12-5. I think Rodgers comeback player of the year, Brees offensive player of the year, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. I think the defense is going to be as good as it's been the past few years. Maybe not like top 3, but I think it'll be top 7 for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Game picks.
Yeah, I'll get into my game pick. I want to touch on 2 things. So you speak on Badlands. Obviously, we're part of it. We're big fans, big followers. Like, Connor Rogers brought up a really good point on Badlands before training camp, and I think we were all kind of skeptical of the training camp plan with all the joint practices. But I gotta say, as skeptical as I was, it worked out. And kudos to Sala and the coaching staff, because I think their actual plan was great. Like, they played all the starters in the joint practices, they went hard after it, and then they backed off it in the games. And you saw the third and fourth stringers play. So, I thought that was just I thought that worked out better than I thought it was going to. I'll say that. Game predictions. I think the Jets have a legitimate shot in this game, but I'm going to stick with my 1998 alignment here. I think the Jets drop a tough one in San Francisco. I've said all along, I think this is their toughest game of the year. I think they lose a close one, though. I think they're kind of feeling it out. Jets are going to be run heavy. I don't think you see a ton of offense in this game, but it's enough. It's going to be an entertaining game, but I think the Jets lose 20-17 on a last-second game-winning field goal. But that's just – I hope I'm wrong, and I really feel like I could be. I really do feel like the Jets have a chance in this game, and I think top to bottom they match up really well with the Niners. I think ultimately the difference just ends up being the experience that San Francisco has and the Kyle Shanahan effect of knowing Saleh and that coaching staff. But that's it. Jets start 0-1, but they'll rebound. But 20-17, San Fran.
Okay. I mean, it's very, very fair of you. I think I'm going the other way, and I kind of already alluded to this because I said 4-0 start for the month of September. I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be close. I think that it's going to be an uglier game than we're hoping to see, but that's the way the Jets have been playing football the past 2 years. It's always been ugly whenever they won these games. So I feel like they're born for this. It's never been like the flashy Miami Dolphins offense, and I think it takes some time for the offense to really kind of get into midseason form, but I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think Rodgers is going to look good. I don't think he's going to be spectacular, but I think he's going to be very solid and better than anything that they've had for years. So I'm going to say this game goes under. The total is 43.5. I'm going to say 20-13, and Jets win by a touchdown. It's going to be close, but I think it's tied for most of the game, and they score a game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter to ice the game. And I'll be there. Boots on the ground. I will give social media updates. I will let you guys know what the spread is in terms of like Jets fans and Niners fans. I'm sure it's gonna be like 90-10. They're crazy. I can't picture there being that many Jets fans at a Niners game, to be honest with you.
What are you going with? What are you wearing to this game? What are you going to? What jersey are you going to rep? What's happening?
So it's fair. So I did order. I actually haven't sent these to you. I did get a Garrett Wilson 5. I have the 17 white of the throwbacks, but I have the Garrett Wilson 5 green.
Okay,
and I
same
also
one I went with.
I mean, it's so I got it from my friend as a Christmas gift. I could not get it after seeing it and holding on to it. But my second one I got is a white Brees. So it's hard, but I'm going to have to go Garrett. I'm going to have to go.
All right.
And it's the only thing that made me think about switching is because they're wearing white in the game, but I just want to wear a Garrett jersey. It's so damn clean. I'll wear a Brees.
What about Chelsea? What's she doing? She's going to the game with you, right?
I'm going with all Niners fans. I mean, the lone Jets.
Niners
she's
fans.
not wearing Jet stuff. She can't. She's not.
Oh,
and that's fine. And that's fine. I respect it. She'll be a Jets fan starting Tuesday. Again.
Oh man, that's tough. Okay.
Listen,
all right. It's all good.
It is what it is.
From the area, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll forgive her.
I'm sure at some point we did go to a Niners game 2 years ago, Niners Commanders, and I have Niners stuff. And one of my friends is going to be probably a jackass and most likely tweet out the picture of me wearing Niners stuff, being like I'm a traitor or whatever. No, I support my wife and I support her family. And the Niners are my number 2 team, but I would never, ever in a million years root against the Jets ever.
Okay.
I know you were there for my vows and saying that I don't want my kids to be Jets fans and be Niners fans, but that's not me. I'm staying with this team. I have done it for 32 years and counting, and I will always rock with this team. I love them so much.
All right.
Thank you. I know you were mad at me about that. We did talk about
this.
It's
all right. We're fine. We're okay. I've gotten over it.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, tuning in. Make sure subscribe to the show on YouTube, youtube.com/@BadlandsTOJ. You get this. You get all the shorts and snippets from the Badlands content on the Patreon. Make sure you subscribe to our show. I'll make sure that this one is on the feed or Apple, Spotify, Turn on the Jets Live, but also Badlands, best premium content you get from a Jets perspective. Like I said, podcasts every day, videos at least once or twice a week, written stuff. It's the whole 9 yards. And if you're a war room member, which at this point, if you're not, you're kind of crazy. Discord, it's probably the best, interaction you're going to have with Jets fans on a daily basis. Like the sickos that we like to talk about, $10 a month, so worth it. Can't thank everybody enough for tuning in, and let's have a good season. Go Jets.